like to invite the Door family to come forward to light our chalice this morning. The chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, a beacon of hope, a flame of justice, and the light of beloved community. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. My name is Jennifer Johnson, and I have the privilege of serving as student minister here at First Parish in Bedford. It is good to be with you this morning. Welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time, to those of you who have been coming forever, and to everyone in between. You are welcome here. Wherever you come from, however you identify, whomever you love. We welcome you with all that you carry in your heart, your joy and pain, hopes and disappointments, questions and faith. We are glad you are here. First Parish is a vibrant, active congregation. If this is your first time visiting, we encourage you to fill out one of the blue welcome cards that you'll find in the pew pocket, and you can place it in the collection basket later in the service during the offering. This will help us connect you to the many opportunities to engage with our community and our justice-seeking, faith-building ministries. You can also learn more at our welcome table and by checking out uubedford.org. As is our weekly tradition, all are invited to stay for coffee, refreshments, and fellowship in the common room after the service. If you would like to reflect more on today's service, we will gather at 11:30 in the Bacon Room for discussion. I also wanted to let you know that next week on December 2nd, our senior minister, Reverend John Gibbons, will be making his long-awaited return to the pulpit. You can actually hear him preach. Also next week, Parish Minister Annie Gonzalez-Milliken will be leading the second in her series of Strengthening Our Spirits workshops. The theme for this week is Anger and Power, and that will be held at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, also in the Bacon Room. Your ministry staff is very much looking forward to the month of December. We have a lot of exciting special worship services planned for you, including 2 Advent services starting next Sunday evening, a special solstice celebration, and on December 16th, our intergenerational service will be a fun, lively holiday mashup, UU style. So mark your calendars now. And for any other happenings, of course, check the bulletin in your order of service. That's it for announcements. We will begin our time of worship. And this morning, we will be exploring the power of presence in our lives and our communities. And I am deeply grateful for your presence this morning. By choosing to be with us this morning in a community of faith, hope, and compassion, you have made this space sacred with the gift of your presence. As we move forward in our time of worship, I invite you now to take a deep breath, breathe into this moment. As best as you are able, set aside your worries and preoccupations for the next hour. Open your mind, your heart, and your senses to the sights and sounds, stories and songs of this sacred time. And we're going to begin with something a little different. God willing that the technology works. We'll start our opening worship with a video animation and the wisdom of Brené Brown.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, "I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed." And then we look and we say, "Hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone." Sympathy is, "Ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich?" Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, "I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me." Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
In the spirit of connecting, let us now sing together. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn 131, "Love Will Guide Us."
We
please remain standing for our unison affirmation. The words are printed in English and Spanish in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar a la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
Well, good morning, everybody. Please be seated. And I want to invite the children and youth, or anyone who feels like being a child or youth today, to come on up and have a seat with my friend Gray and me. We're going to tell you a story, and there are pictures in it. So if you move closer, you might be able to see the pictures a little better. So feel free, come on up. And I'm going to sit on down, and so's Gray. Have a seat. Yeah, come on over. That's great. So, everybody, this is a story about the 3 questions. Now, there are lots of questions that we ask one another, and there was a famous writer named Leo Tolstoy who wrote a story about the 3 most important questions. So I want you to listen carefully, and perhaps you can identify what the most important questions are. And Gray will show you some of these pictures. So once there was a young boy named Nikolai who worried about how to act with other people. I want to be a good person, he said, but I don't always know the best way to do that. His friends understood, and they wanted to help him out. If only I could find the answers to 3 important questions, Nikolai said, then I would know what to do. And these were Nikolai's questions. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And the 3rd question, what is the right thing to do? Now, his friends who were animals thought about those questions, and they had many answers for him, because all creatures think about things differently. They told him that he would know the best time to do things if he planned in advance, or if he watched carefully, or if he could ask others for their opinions. Then he said, who is the most important one? Well, one friend said, it is the person who is closest to heaven. Another said it was someone who could heal the sick. And still another said, it's those who make all the rules about how we live. Well, none of those answers seemed exactly right to Nikolai, so he kept thinking. And then he asked his friends another question, that 3rd question, what is the right thing to do? Is that a question you've thought about sometimes? What is the right thing to do at any particular moment? Well, the bird said flying in the air is the right thing to do. And the monkey in the tree said having fun all the time is the right thing to do. And then the dog said fighting with those who bother us is the right thing to do. Well, Nikolai loved his friends, and he knew that they were all trying to help him answer this question, but the answer still didn't seem quite right. So he decided to go down to the riverbank to find an old turtle who was very wise. And he thought that the turtle would be able to help him. After he hiked up the mountains and down to the river, there the turtle waited, and Nikolai asked his 3 questions. And while he waited for the turtle to respond, he went down to the river to help dig a little garden for the turtle. Before long, Nikolai heard a cry out in the brush, and he rushed out, and there he found an injured panda bear. The panda's leg had been injured by a tree falling on it, so he gently lifted her up and carried the panda to the home of the turtle, laid her down and covered her with a blanket, and she went to sleep. After a while, though, the panda awakened in fear and cried out, "Where is my baby?" Nikolai ran back out, even though it was raining, to look for where the panda had been, and there he saw under a tree that the baby was lying, shivering and moaning for its mother. He brought the baby back to the mama panda, and she held the baby in her arms, and she smiled. The old turtle smiled too when he saw what Nikolai had done. In the morning, his friends, the bird, the monkey, and the dog arrived, and they saw how Nikolai had helped the panda and her baby. But Nikolai had still not found the answers to those questions. The old turtle turned to Nikolai, and he said, "But boy, your questions have already been answered." "They have?" asked the boy. "Indeed," said the old turtle. "If you had stayed with me and not gone to the river, you would not have heard the panda crying for help. Remember, Nikolai, that there is only one important time, and that time is right now, wherever you are. The most important one is always the one that you are standing next to, the person who is there with you. And the most important thing to do is the thing that the person or the creature next to your side needs the most. These, my dear friend, are the answers to what is most important in the world. That is why we are here," said the old turtle, "to remember these 3 most important questions, and to be present to help those who are with us in the way that they need the most." And so Nikolai's riddle was answered, and he vowed never to forget the answers to life's most important questions. And that is the end of our story, my friend. So, as children and youth go out to enjoy Mural Day down on our lower level, we invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
My name is Rich Doherty. I am not properly checked out for this duty. It's Nancy Doherty's duty, but she's downstairs doing something with murals. She didn't know she was on either. But this is a time in the service when we briefly share our joys and concerns about those things in life that you'd like to share with this loving congregation. Somebody from the Lay Pastoral Committee will be here after the service, so you can light a silent candle if you choose to do so. What the hell is that?
I'll come and stand by the service. I finally remembered.
Thank you.
Let's take a breath together. And let us take a moment to be with each other, to be with what has been shared, and to be with that which is on our hearts and not spoken into this space, and to be with the divine mystery, that creative force of love and life that moves in us. This is one of the blessings of community, that we have a place to put our loss, our concern, our love, and our longing, that we have a place to bless the memories of those who came before us, keeping the bell, bringing the tree, giving us life and creating memories. And that we have a place to mourn when we have to say goodbye. That we have a place to sit with the worry of illness and of injustice and of the many things that can complicate and threaten our lives. Let us continue to be together as we are, remembering those who've gone before and witnessing each other's joy and pain to create that sacred connection that makes this community so sacred. May it be so. And in light of that sacred connection, we also have this time to share generously our gifts with this community so that we may sustain it financially and strengthen it. The offering will be gratefully received. Thank you for all you do to make this community possible. Your gifts of time and energy and financial resources are so vital and gratefully received. We are going to learn a song together, and it's a song that comes to us from the Georgia Sea Islands, from the Gullah culture that formed in that particular place where groups of enslaved Africans melded their cultural traditions and music with the religion that was allowed to them by their oppressors, the Christian religion that they were allowed to publicly engage in. And they melded those things and created beautiful music that sustained them through these unimaginable conditions. And so today we sing it with great respect and reverence for these people and for what they went through to create this gift. So it's a song that kind of the same kind of musical phrase repeats over and over, but it just alternates the last note if it goes kind of higher or lower. So that's basically the only pattern to it. So it's not too complicated, and you have the words here. So I'm going to do some call and response, and we'll go through the words that repeat the most, and we'll do them twice. We'll do them once the way it goes first with a little higher on the end, and we'll do it again the way it goes a little lower on the end, so that you're ready to sing it as our hymn after our sermon. So let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. All right, that's the up one. Then we'll try it again. So let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. So that's the only change up, is the home, home. Otherwise, we'll move through it when we sing it together, alternating with the verses in there and the let your little light shine that repeats over and over, and we'll get in a beautiful groove with it. Thank you for learning with me.
Thanks, Annie. So it's right around this time of year that the adult members of my extended family, some of them have gathered with us this morning right over here, we begin scheming to take home top honors at our annual Yankee Swap gift exchange, the highlight of our Christmas Eve gathering. The object is to go home with the best gift, but what most of us really want are bragging rights. We compete and sometimes go to great lengths to bring the most coveted gift. One year, our family friend Dave brought a gift-wrapped tub of live lobsters. Going strong for more than 2 decades, our Yankee Swap is raucous and lively with lots of good-natured teasing. But if I'm honest, family, I have to say it's not my favorite. It kind of stresses me out and adds just one more errand to my already too long to-do list for the holidays. And maybe the Yankee Swap stresses me out because it touches some old childhood angst. I used to get really nervous going to my friends' birthday parties. I worried every time that my gift would be found wanting, and that in turn, I would be found wanting. Now, after my parents' divorce when I was 9 years old, money got extra tight in our house, and the budget for birthday presents was lean. When I was invited to a party for my friend and her twin sister, my mom insisted that I bring just one gift for the twins to share. That was all that we could afford. I still remember the clench of my gut, the heat rising in my face as I approached their front door with just one gift in my hand, while all the other kids had two. Of course, no true friendship was ever gained or lost by virtue of a birthday present. Our Christmas Eve bragging rights are short-lived. Excepting Dave's Lobsters, no one remembers for long who brought which gift, the rice cooker versus the smartphone charger versus the coffee table book. And yet, there's something to it, all that childhood angst and my family's high-spirited competition. Our gift-giving rituals, I believe, signify something deeper. A fundamental desire to connect to each other, to be seen and valued, wanted and affirmed. In this morning's opening video, Brené Brown teaches that empathy fuels connection, not sandwiches or sweaters or rice cookers, not advice or solutions, and especially not at least comparisons. We connect most deeply not by giving each other things or even words. We connect most deeply when we offer nothing more and nothing less than our compassionate, attentive presence. We connect by showing up. It seems so very basic. It seems like we shouldn't need TED Talks or animated public service videos to remind us of such a simple truth. But apparently we do. Just yesterday morning, I stumbled upon this Facebook post from the news source Vox. What a lot of people don't appear to understand is that the single easiest way to make friends is to show up when it matters. And the single easiest way to lose friends is to, well, not. A lot of people don't appear to understand this. When I apply this basic truth to my own life experiences, I realize that many teachers have in fact been showing me all along that what matters most is showing up. But those teachers and their lessons have been obscured by a culture of greed and consumption that would have us believe we are wanted and valued most for our material resources, for our spending power and our social status, for what we can give rather than for who we are. This morning, I'd like to give 4 of my most memorable teachers their due by shining a light on the lessons they have taught me about showing up with nothing but our presence. The first of my teachers is a 4-year-old girl named Nora Wood, who I never met, but who made national headlines when she forged an unexpected friendship with an 81-year-old widower named Dan Peterson. I first heard the story of Nora and Dan on NPR's Kind World broadcast more than a year ago, and it has stayed with me since. The day Nora met Dan was a special day, her 4th birthday. She was happily scanning the grocery store aisles from her perch in a shopping cart steered by her mother. In front of the dairy case, she caught a glimpse of a sullen, gray-haired man, a stranger. I thought he needed a friend, she told the reporter, because he was sad. Understanding that Dan was down in the valley, Nora shined her little light in his direction. "Hi, old person," she chimed out loud. "Today's my birthday." Tickled by her sweetness, Dan chatted with Nora for a few minutes. She even asked him to take a birthday photo with her, and she reached out for a hug. Nora could sense that Dan was sad, but she couldn't know that he was utterly despondent with grief after losing his beloved wife 6 months earlier. According to the reporter, a darkness had settled over Dan that he couldn't seem to escape. Dan was in a dark hole, alone and hopeless, until Nora climbed down a ladder to be with him in his sadness. Nora's mom, Tara, posted the photo of the two of them to Facebook, and a mutual friend recognized Dan. She commented that it was the first time she had seen him smile since his wife had died. Tara understood that something special had transpired between her daughter and the stranger. Moved by Dan's grief, she arranged to bring Nora to visit him. And from that first moment in the grocery store, a lasting friendship bloomed. Dan is no longer in the valley. When Nora brought the light of her presence to Dan, he rediscovered the light in his own life. "Nora got me out of the loop, gave me something to live for," he said. "It's like the sun came out, you know." Do you know? Have you been down in the valley, in the dark, by yourself? It may be me, or it may be you, maybe your sibling or your cousin too. I know. The deepest valley I have known is the one I landed in after the birth of my youngest daughter, Carly, 12 years ago, when postpartum depression hit me hard. What brings me, and this story brings me to my second teacher, my sister Kate, who met me in that valley. My daughter Carly was born with bright, expressive eyes and a sweet, fuzzy forehead. She smiled big, happy smiles from the get-go. But in the first weeks of her life, I could barely summon a smile in return. I went through the sleep-deprived motions of newborn parenting, but could feel almost nothing. No delight, no joy, no hope. Just the dull, heavy weight of responsibility and the tight gut clench of shame. My closest people rallied around me. They wanted to make it all better. Carly and her older sister and my husband Dave needed me to be better. And I did get better with their support and therapy and medication and time. But before I could muster the will to get better, I needed someone to be with me for a while in my dark hole. And that someone was Kate. Kate lived in Chicago at the time, and I was here in Massachusetts. She suggested a ritual phone call with me at 9 o'clock each night after I had crawled into bed for my first brief shift of sleep before it was time to nurse again. I don't remember what we talked about. The words didn't much matter. What mattered was her loving presence in the darkness. What mattered was that she listened and cared and stayed with me until I grew drowsy enough for sleep. Sometimes I just sobbed into the phone, and she whispered back how sorry she was for my pain. Kate called me every night without fail, little by little, I could see the light that led me to recovery. Last summer, I completed my chaplaincy internship at a hospital in Worcester, and there I met my third teacher, a patient named Sean. At the start of the summer unit, the new chaplain interns, we all preoccupied ourselves with stuff, with the tools of the trade, the things we would need: prayer books, Bibles, referral lists, holy oil, prayer shawls, sacraments, anything that would keep the suffering of our patients at a safe distance. It didn't take long to learn from my patients that my toolkit was rarely wanted or needed. What they wanted and needed was my presence. And I learned this lesson most profoundly and poignantly from Sean, a patient I met each week on the dialysis unit. Sean is 45 years old with end-stage renal disease. He was my most enthusiastic patient, always eager for a visit, though he was often perplexingly evasive in his sharing. He only vaguely alluded to his struggles with addiction, the trouble he got into in his youth, and the specter of his own mortality. Our conversations were sometimes stumbling and awkward, but Sean always asked me to come back. I couldn't quite figure out why until our last visit, when Sean revealed his reason and taught me a lesson I will carry throughout my ministry. He said he felt like he had a light bulb inside of him, and that when I showed up and listened to him and just cared about what he had to say, remembered the little details he told me, he felt the wattage of his inner light increase. That was his metaphor. And I told him that someday I'd like to preach about it. And he gave me permission and asked me to use his first name. On the heels of my chaplaincy internship, I began my student ministry here at First Parish. And it's here that I am learning new lessons about presence from you, this justice-seeking, light-shining congregation, my fourth and final teacher. Whenever I enter this church, whatever the time of day, I am greeted by a sanctuary volunteer stationed in the foyer, volunteers who show up around the clock in body and spirit to shine a light for our guest in sanctuary who faces deportation and to forge new bonds of love and community for her and her family. Volunteers who are supported by a congregation that voted to risk showing up against a racist and inhumane immigration system. It is here through Reverend Annie's work with the Boston Immigration and Justice Accompany Network that I was given the opportunity and privilege to show up myself just recently at immigration court as a sponsor for an asylum seeker from Honduras. For several months, she was unjustly imprisoned, first in Texas and then in Massachusetts, simply for presenting herself at the southern border. As I sat in the courtroom beside a team of accompaniers from Annie's network, my sponsee was brought into the courtroom by a sheriff's deputy. She was clad in an orange prison jumper with shackles on her wrists and her ankles. When the judge heard her bond case, all I had to do was raise my hand to signal my presence as her sponsor and to affirm her connection to a community of love and humanity. Here, among all of you, I am learning that we cannot wait to stumble upon a dark hole or deep valley where people are struggling, alone, in despair. As people of faith and compassion, we are called to cast our gaze in search of the dark holes. We are called to proactively shine our light for friends and strangers alike in unfamiliar valleys. We are called to risk our own security and to breach unjust barriers to reach those valleys. Rarely can a response make something better, says Brené Brown. What makes something better is connection. There is power, real power, in the connections we make with each other. With nothing but our presence, we can make the sun come out for a stranger. We can light the way to a sister's recovery. We can turn up the wattage of a suffering patient's inner light, and we can shine the light of liberation for our shackled neighbors. You taught me this. You and Nora and Kate and Sean. Who are your teachers? I'm still planning on taking part in the Yankee swap family. I'm not opposed to gift-giving rituals, and I appreciate the indulgences of the season. I like to create a little magic for loved ones with pretty packages, shiny new toys, and wishes granted. What I am against is a culture of greed and consumption that prioritizes status and stuff and distracts us from the true gifts of human connection. When we offer up our presence in love and compassion, we reap the gift of connection as much as we give it. When we brighten the lives of our friends and neighbors, we increase our own wattage too. And when we cannot sing like angels, we can still and always change the world with our love. So whether or not you can sing like an angel, your presence is a precious gift. Please rise in body or spirit, lift your voice in song, and let your little light shine. The words are in your order of service.
So let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. So let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. It may be me and it may be you. It may be your sibling and your cousin too. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. So let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. Traveling from near or from lands afar, by the morning sun or the evening star. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. So let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. One more time. Let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home. Let your little light shine, shine, shine. Let your little light shine, oh my, my. There might be someone down in the valley trying to get home.
At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. The words of Albert Schweitzer, please take them with you and let your little light shine.